We are a week away from Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane in Abu Dhabi, one of the better cards of the year, and I'm going to be giving my breakdown and predictions for every single fight on this card. There's a lot of good fights on here. There's a lot of great fights. Umar, Mario Bautista, Alexander Volkov, Jailton Almeida, and we've also got the density max for Azat Mirzakhanov. A couple of new prelims fights were added as well, but these prelims are very good. Lots of good scraps on the prelims. But before we get into this, if you guys are looking to pack on some muscle, you want to get a bit stronger, but you also want to be able to eat relatively clean, I recommend the Real Food Cookbook. It'll allow you to be eating clean, but still the opportunity to eat those comfort foods from around the world made with whole and unprocessed ingredients. So if you're trying to bulk up, or if you're trying to lean out, but again, you want to enjoy your diet and not be bored of your chicken and broccoli, check out the Real Food Cookbook and make sure to use the code MMA for 30% off. So let's get into this, guys. Jaqueline Amorim versus Mizuki is a phenomenal fight. I do think that Mizuki is going to have some serious advantage here. Now, the reason being is because I believe she trained with Takanori Gomi back in the day. Jaqueline Amorim is an absolute monster, but Mizuki is going to be going in there with a fire and fury of a 15-6 record. And normally I would favor the 10-1 record, but I'm going to favor Mizuki in this one. I think she's going to get this one done, and I'm going to pick her to win by a decision, okay? I'm picking Mizuki to get it done by decision. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change it to the 10-1. I think the 10-1 record is going to be a little bit better. So let's get on to the next one. Azat Maksum versus Mitch Raposo. This is an easy fight to break down. I'll go with Mitch. No, I'm joking. I'm going with Azat Maksum. Azat Maksum is actually one of the most underrated fighters in MMA, right? Tagir Ulanbekov is pretty decent, and Azat Maksum arguably beat him in a fight. And going into that fight, he was very underestimated. But even before that, he had a very close fight with Charles Johnson. And we know how good Charles Johnson is. Charles Johnson was able to beat Joshua Van. Charles Johnson, he had another fraud check earlier this year. I forget exactly who it was against, but another big KO. Oh, Loner Kavanaugh. That was it. So for him to be making it this close with Tagir Ulanbekov in a fight where he arguably won, and even against Charles Johnson, I actually thought that he won that. Based on damage. He had a couple of knockdowns in that fight. He's got really good striking, very good striking, awesome takedown defense as well, good wrestling. Mitch Raposo, he's going to have the height disadvantage. He's going to have a serious reach disadvantage. And, you know, it's not like Mitch Raposo is out there sleeping fools. So I also just don't think his wrestling is that dominant. I think Azat Maksum, if he's basically, in my opinion, having close enough fights to where he could get the nod against Charles Johnson and Tagir Ulanbekov, I'm sorry. I think he's winning this fight, and I think it's going to be a finish. I'm going to go with Azat Maksum by a finish. I'll go with him by a TKO. Let's get on to Hamdy Abdelwahab and Chris Barnett. I've got to go with Hamdy. Hamdy is one of the more disappointing fighters because he came into the UFC. He had this hype coming in. I think he had this like really impressive wrestling background, like some kind of like Robert Whittaker-esque. You remember when people used to hype up Whittaker for being in a, what was it? The something games, right? The Pan Am Games, whatever. I think that's the one that Yoel used to compete in. Whittaker was like a certain games guy from the wrestling world, and that always was like a feather in his cap. Hamdy Abdelwahab had something similar, but since his debut, and I do believe that he may have popped for PEDs and he took some time off, since he's came back, he's been having heavyweight slop fest fights. A couple of stinkers back-to-back. Really bad fights. And I remember in his last fight, Michael Bisping was hyping him up a lot because, oh, Hamdy, he's a big guy. He's going to hit really hard. And Bisping was like, oh, you don't want to get hit by Hamdy. And it's like, dude, this guy is not cracking. He doesn't actually have that much power. He's turned into a conveyor belt heavyweight. I'm going with Chris Barnett. Listen, if this was a fight that you put on paper, all right, you put it in Anthony Smith's Real House a couple of years ago, then maybe I would go with Hamdy Abdelwahab to out-wrestle Chris Barnett. okay, to go out there and steamroll him with the wrestling, finish him on the ground, maybe just get some control time. But I've just seen absolutely nothing impressive from Hamdy, not even in his wrestling. At least Chris Barnett, even though people poke fun at him for being super fat. Listen, dude, this guy has like actual athleticism. I think he's going to spinning wheel kick Hamdy Abdelwahab into another dimension. I mean, people forget, man, but Chris Barnett's done that a couple of times. I think he's doing it again. I'm going with Chris Barnett, and I think he's going to spinning wheel kick Hamdy Abdelwahab into another dimension. Bold prediction, I know, but that's what I'm going with. So let's get on to this one. Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkilld. I am going with Nasrat Haqparast. I used to not be high on Nasrat. I'm actually high on Nasrat Haqparast these days because of how well he's been doing and how much he's improved. Back in the day, he kind of struck me as a guy that wouldn't really impose his will, and it was kind of frustrating to watch some of his fights, but he's on a really good win streak. He's improved a lot. His output is very good. He's had a couple of heavy output battles. I mean, this guy was able to win a split decision against Ribovic, which is really impressive. To be able to get a win against Esteban Ribovic and win it via, being the guy with higher output, better volume, like that is very impressive. And also Quillan Salkilld, yes, he knocked out Anshul Jubli. Yes, he showed us pretty good wrestling and pretty good grappling as well. I do think he's good, okay? But I think this is a big step up in competition. And there are moments where he seems to still look very green. He's someone that can get pushed back on the feet. Now, Nasrat Haqparast doesn't have a ton of power. He's more of an output volume guy, but I just think this is going to be a levels difference. I think Nasrat Haqparast has more layers to his game. I'm going with him. I'm going with the guy that has a little bit more UFC experience. But let's get on to Valter Walker versus Louie Sutherland. Yeah, Valter Walker, I'm going to go with him to win this fight. I think he's going to submit Louie Sutherland with a heel hook. And listen, Valter Walker, he's just pulling off these flyweight speed level of submissions, like these Demetrius Johnson easy, fast submissions in the blink of an eye, flash of lightning speed submissions at heavyweight. And I just don't really see that, and I got to go with him to beat this level of competition. Now, again, Louie Sutherland can make his debut. He could be the next guy in this division. You don't know, but I just can't pick him to win against a guy that's been as impressive as Valter Walker, getting heel hook after heel hook after heel hook like a heavyweight Paul Harris. We haven't really seen someone do that, so I just think his grappling so far has been proven to be far superior to the other heavyweights. And until Louie Sutherland proves that he's, on a different level, I can't pick him to win against someone that has proven that he is able to do things that basically no other heavyweight has done. So, again, I understand Valter Walker's not been submitting the who's who in the heavyweight division, but what he's been able to pull off, I don't think a lot of these heavyweights are going to be able to deal with his level of grappling. So I'm going to go with Valter Walker by a submission. Let's get on to Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Miguel Delgado. I am going to go with Jose Delgado. This is a very tough fight to pick because I do think Nathaniel Wood may be the better fighter. I think Nathaniel Wood is probably someone that has more skills, more tools in his tool bag. He's more well-rounded, right? He's a good boxer. He's got good Muay Thai, good volume, good takedowns as well. He's actually got some crafty takedowns. But the problem is Nathaniel Wood gets hurt and gets dropped in a lot of his fights and doesn't have a lot of power. He doesn't have much pop. And I picked Jose Miguel Delgado to beat Haider Emil because of the fact that this guy goes out there looking to blitzkrieg people every single fight. He goes out there, charges at them, and it's just a tornado of Muay Thai. Knees, right? That's what he caught Haider Emil with. He caught him with a knee at the end of one of his combos. This guy has nasty knees in close quarters. And I think eventually, I just think it's going to be a first-round KO. Again, if this goes the distance, I think Nathaniel Wood has it within him. He's going to be able to lean on his experience. I think he will be able to pull off a victory. I think he will be able to get the decision, but I don't think it's going to get that far. I think Jose Delgado is going to be in his face early, and I think he's going to hurt him, and I think he's going to put him away. Jose Delgado has a different level of intensity with the way that he approaches fights early, and I think it'll pay off in this one. Again, Nathaniel Wood, he's a sharpshooter, but he doesn't have a lot of power, and I don't think he's going to be able to get Jose Delgado off of him early. All right, so I'm going with Jose Delgado. Let's get on to the next one. Abdul Kareem Selwady versus Matheus Camilo. I'm going with Abdul Kareem Selwady. Even though he lost his last fight, he's taken some time off. I still think this guy's pretty good. He's got really decent striking. He's got a great pace, good grappling. He showed that against one of the Hardwick brothers. I don't believe it was Harry Hardwick. I think it was the other Hardwick. Either way, he had an amazing performance on the Dana White Contender Series. His boxing looked really good. His pace looked great. His takedowns looked good. And then in his last fight against Radzhabov, he actually was winning that fight up until he got caught. And I'm going to go with Abdul Kareem Selwady. I like his game. He has a very heavy pressure, good boxing, good basic fundamental game. And I think he's going to get this one done by decision. All right, let's get on to Ludovit Klein versus Matheus Raumbetsky. This is an interesting fight. This is a really good fight as well. Matheus Raumbetsky has had nothing but great matchups for entertainment factor, though. Like, I am going to go with Ludovit Klein. I am going to get that out of the way. I'm picking Ludovit Klein in this fight. But I just want to say that the UFC has made sure to match up Matheus Raumbetsky with the right opponents when it comes to making an entertaining fight. Because this is going to be a really good fight. This is going to be a war. But I think Ludovit Klein is going to edge it out. And it's because Matheus Raumbetsky, even though he's very skilled and he's beaten slightly better levels of competition than Ludovit Klein, I think he plays to the crowd too much. It's very easy to drag him into a slugfest to where he throws caution to the wayside and just like goes at it, sees red, starts slugging. And it's a shame because early on in his career, I mean, it's fun to watch. It's entertaining. But early on in his career, he seemed to be a lot more measured, right? He kind of sat behind his leg kicks more, grappled more often as well. This guy has a good grappling background. But recently, he's just been getting dragged into these dog fights. And Ludovit Klein has good takedown defense. I mean, against Thiago Moises, he showed phenomenal takedown defense. Sure, Gamrot took him down a couple of times, but that's Gamrot. That's a totally different level of fighter that we're talking about. I think Klein is going to be able to keep this one standing, and I think he's just going to be too slick on the feet. I think he's the slicker striker. I remember before the Gamrot fight, people were posting edits of Ludovit Klein's boxing, and it's very, very slick. He's also going to have a big reach advantage. He has a 72.5-inch reach. Matheus Raumbetsky has a 66-inch reach. I just think Matheus Raumbetsky, he has the skills to pull this off, but I think he's going to get dragged into a bit of a gunfight, and I just think that with the reach disadvantage and the fact that, again, Ludovit is a slicker, more finesseful type of striker, I'm going to favor him in a striking battle. So, yeah, let's get on to Ikram Aleskarov versus Jung Young Park. I believe in Jung Young Park. I believe in Jung Young Park. I got to say, I'm picking Ikram Aleskarov. Pains me to say that because I'm a fan of the Iron Turtle. I've basically been picking Jung Young Park Iron Turtle for the majority of his career. But he's been getting rocked recently. I don't think this guy is the same juggernaut that he was a couple of years ago. And Ikram Aleskarov, even though Ikram may not be as elite as a lot of people thought he was going to be early on in his career, I mean, think about it. Since the Whitaker loss, which it's not like he got schooled for 5 rounds. He got rocked early, got shown a different level on the feet. Whitaker was able to put him away, but again, that's Robert Whitaker, different level. Ikram Aleskarov, outside of the Whitaker fight, has just been putting people to sleep over and over and over and over again. And we've all been waiting for a big step up in competition. Obviously, we got it with the Whitaker fight. We saw what happened. But we've also been waiting for, like, Ikram Aleskarov to fight people outside of the Worley Alvises. He also fought Andre Muniz, right? They booked him with Andre Muniz, and I thought that was going to be the test to where, okay, we're going to see some bit of a fight. Like, this is going to be a 15-minute scrap where we're going to see where Ikram really stands, where he doesn't get KO'd in the first minute and he doesn't get a KO in the first minute. We're going to see what he really is like when things don't end in the first minute. But he just blew past him. And the way that things are looking is that Ikram Aleskarov is just going to blow past people because he has serious power in his hands. And I think he's just going to be able to KO Jung Young Park early in this fight. Jung Young Park, he's been getting rocked in fights. And I know that he got hit with an illegal knee in the last fight, right? But he also got rocked in that fight, also took a lot of damage against Nurdiev, ended up winning in part with the help of some point deductions. But yeah, I just think Ikram has a different level of power. All right, and his grappling, it's really good as well, and that helps in the Jung Young Park fight, where Jung Young Park if he puts the pace on you and starts shooting takedowns, typically he would have an advantage because he has a really good grappling game as well. But Ikram Aleskadov is going to be the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. He himself has a great grappling background. He's going to have brick wall takedown defense. So if this fight goes to the ground, I think it's probably going to be on his terms. And even though Jung Young Park beat Andre Muniz, who, again, people kind of view him as a decent grappler, he did get controlled in that fight, right? That was why they gave it to Muniz. He kept getting taken down by Muniz. Muniz was just kind of sitting on a body lock, dragging him around, biding his time, kind of holding on for dear life in a way, but at least he was strong enough to kind of control Jung Young Park until Jung Young Park was able to reverse the positions and beat him up and get damage off at the end of those rounds. But Ikram Aleskadov is going to be, in this matchup, the bigger, stronger fighter, and I think that's going to pay dividends in the grappling to where he will be able to control Jung Young Park. If it goes to the ground, I kind of favor him a little bit. And again, the power, it's going to be too much. So, yeah, let's get on to the next one. Alexander Rakic, we're getting to the main card, versus Azamat Murzakanov. I'm going to take my bias out of this. You guys know I'm friends with Azamat, Density Maxer on the Density Maxing forums, the father of Density Maxing as well. Alexander Rakic is a big light heavyweight. He might be the biggest light heavyweight next to Alex Pereira. And Azamat Murzakanov, again, people kind of sleep on this guy. Because, again, he goes in the cage, kind of looks like a math teacher. Looks very unassuming, 5'10". He's only got a 71-inch reach. Kind of looks like an old man as well. Even though he's not that old, kind of looks like he's 50, right? But there's a different level of density when he gets in the cage, and it creates an effect that you just have to see in real life. And Alexander Rakic, when he gets in front of Azamat Murzakanov, I think he's going to be the guy on the back foot because of it. So I'm going to go with Azamat Murzakanov by a first-round KO or a second-round KO. I'm going to go with a second-round KO. This is a big jump up in competition for Azamat Murzakanov since he beat Ribeiro. This is a big step up, but this is the thing. Rakic, he has good grappling. And I actually think that is his path to victory in this fight. I think that if Rakic is going to win this, he's going to have to grapple early and he's going to have to grapple often. I don't think he's going to do that, though. I just think Rakic is going to get drawn into a striking battle. I mean, that's usually what he does. Rakic goes out there, likes to leg kick, sit on the back foot, chip away with heavy kicks, and throw a couple of 1-2s every now and then. And I just think his style is very basic, and I think it's too basic to deal with someone that moves around as quickly, as light on his feet as Azamat Murzakanov, where you see this guy and he's literally floating in the octagon. He's closing the distance at light speed, and he's throwing gnarly combinations with vicious intent. I think he's going to have a speed advantage. I think he's going to have a power advantage. Again, Rakic, sure, KO'd Jimmy Manuwa back in the day with a head kick, but since then, Rakic's not putting anyone away. He's not really rocking people on the feet. And the leg kicks are good, but Azamat Murzakanov, this guy's dealt with it. This guy has had 50 Sambo fights. So Azamat Murzakanov, I'm going to go with him to win this fight. After this, though, I think that's when Azamat is really going to start getting tested for real. And this is the thing. Rakic is a good fighter, but I think he's like the most simple light heavyweight in the top 10. And sometimes I say, simple can be good. You can have good basic fundamentals, but I think Rakic is just an easy puzzle to figure out. And once Rakic starts getting tagged in his fights, he usually just resorts to sitting on the back foot and floating around with his back up against the cage. And that's where Azamat does his best work. Azamat likes pressuring people up against the cage. That's where he's able to let go his best combinations. And I think he's going to finish Alexander Rakic. I think his speed advantage, the power advantage, it's going to be too much. So it is a big step up in competition, though. I mean, we could see Rakic win this if he pulls out the grappling, because he does have good grappling, but I don't see it happening. I think he's going to stand, and I think it's not going to pay off. So I'm going with the Density Maxer by a KO. Let's get on to Alexander Volkov versus Jailton Almeida. I am going to pick Jailton Almeida to control Alexander Volkov. And the reason is because Alexander Volkov, even though his grappling has improved since the Curtis Blades fight, where he got taken down over and over and over again, he's bulked up since then. He's become Swolkov. And he's actually gotten some really nasty finishes against grapplers. We saw what he did to Romanov, finished him in the first round after stuffing an early takedown, actually finished him on the ground. His grappling is improved. He used it against Gane in the rematch, should have won that fight, got robbed in that fight, even though it was kind of close. It wasn't as bad of a robbery as people make it out to be, but it was the wrong decision. Volkov should have won that fight. I think he definitely won the second and the third round, that's for sure. Has an argument for the first round as well. But his grappling looks good these days. I just, unfortunately, think that's enough for him not to get submitted. I think that Volkov's grappling has improved enough. His strength has improved enough for him not to get finished. And I think this is going to be kind of like the Derek Lewis fight, where Jailton Almeida, the speed, the level change speed specifically, the strength on the ground, the technique on the ground. Sure, Volkov submitted Tai Tuivasa, but Jailton Almeida has basically finished every single fighter he's fought, except for Derek Lewis and Curtis Blaydes. And even against Curtis Blaydes, this is another reason why I actually favor Almeida, even though he lost that fight and got TKO'd, and maybe Volkov can do the same thing. He took down Curtis Blaydes like 10 times. And I think he's going to have improved. Again, remember that was about a year and a half ago. He was still kind of new to the UFC. He's had a couple of fights since then. His striking has improved. He even rocked Sergey Spivak on the feet in his last fight. I think Jailton Almeida is going to take Volkov down consistently for 3 rounds and win himself a lackluster decision. Let's get on to Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista, the second best fight on this card. Very interesting matchup. I'm going to have a sip of coconut water before I break this one down. Is this a 3-rounder? It's a 3-rounder, yeah, because there's a women's MMA title fight after this, so it's definitely a 3-rounder. I'll be honest, guys, I'm actually torn on this. This is a very close fight, and the reason why I say that is because I rewatched Mario Bautista versus Patchy Mix, and even though it's Patchy Mix, and people are going to say that Patchy Mix is stiff as a board, he's got the worst head movement in UFC history, he's a horrible striker, he got outstruck by Jacob Wicklacz, and I agree with that. Mario Bautista's boxing, I think it's going to be a problem for Umar Nurmagomedov. He's got very good 1-2s. He's got a really good right hand to the body, a really good right hand upstairs. Very basic combinations, but he's got good output. He's got good cardio too. Umar Nurmagomedov, he's got fast hands, but I actually think his boxing, especially his boxing defense, kind of suffers a bit. And I could just see Mario Bautista cracking Umar over and over again with the right hand early, having the speed to do it. However, the reason why I'm going to go with Umar is because I like the fact that this guy still has the ability to pull out the grappling. And I know that some people are going to say Mario Bautista has great grappling as well, and he does have decent grappling, but I don't think it's at the level of Umar Nurmagomedov. And I think after the last loss to Merab, he's going to have that extra level of motivation. Even in the Merab fight, he looked good. He damn near won that fight, right? I mean, listen, he lost. He lost 3-2. He lost the last 3 rounds, but he still made it very competitive in the later rounds. Like, this guy has a great gas tank. I know we talk about Mario Bautista having a good gas tank too, and that's why this is such a good fight. It's so evenly matched, but Umar Nurmagomedov, some of those later rounds against Merab were very close, right? The 5th round as well was another very close round. And unlike Merab, Mario Bautista is not going to have the ability to just spam takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown. Something that can wear on your spirit, something that can be discouraging in a fight. I think that this is going to be a fight where early on Mario Bautista controls it. Early on, I think Mario Bautista is going to outdo Umar on the feet. But I think the 2nd and 3rd round, Umar is going to come alive on the feet. I think he's going to start to make adjustments. I think the speed is going to become a big factor, and I think he's going to have the speed advantage in this fight. And I think that Umar is actually just going to out-volume Mario Bautista and keep it at range. I think he's going to do really well at kicking range, and I think he's going to do well enough at boxing range to not get finished, and I also think he's going to be the superior grappler in this fight. So I think if he wants to, he can pull out the takedowns. And maybe Mario Bautista does a good job of not getting held down for long periods of time, not getting hurt, not getting submitted. But I do think that Umar is going to be the guy that is shooting those takedowns. Because remember, even against Merab, he was shooting a lot on Merab in that fight. And that was something that was getting him tired. And eventually he stopped doing it in the very end of that fight. But if he's shooting on Merab Dvalishvili, I think he's going to be shooting on Mario Bautista. And again, even though I think early on the boxing's going to be a problem, I think Mario's going to be landing a lot of shots upstairs, especially the right hands. I think eventually Umar is going to start outspeeding him, beating him to the punch, landing kicks in between their boxing exchanges that are just going to allow him to run numbers up on the board. And I think he's going to pull off a 29-28 decision. It's a pretty evenly matched fight. I'm looking forward to it. Both guys, great cardio, good grappling, good striking. But Umar Nurmagomedov giving Merab Dvalishvili an extremely close fight and beating Corey Sandhagen. I mean, listen, that win against Sandhagen has aged well. Even after Sandhagen lost to Merab, that's still something that has aged well because Sandhagen, he looks as elite as it gets if you're not someone with the alien-like gas tank as Merab. He was able to take 2 rounds off of Merab, and Umar 4-1 Sandhagen. Umar won more rounds against Sandhagen than Merab did. Now, again, styles make fights. It's different. Mario Bautista's coming off of a win against Patchy Mix and an older Aldo where he did get outstruck against Aldo. He did get outspeeded by Aldo, and he won that fight by grappling, holding him up against the cage. And again, I don't think that was a horrible decision for him. I think people give him too much crap for that. He was doing what he needed to do to win, but I just think that Umar has been more impressive. So I'm going to go with Umar by a 29-28, pretty competitive decision. As we get on to Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern. 2 grapplers and a not very hyped title fight. This is basically happening just because Zhang Weili is vacating the belt. And I don't know who I'm going to pick in this one, man. This is actually a tricky one. I think I'm going to go with Virna Jandiroba. I think I'm going to pick Virna. I think, listen, Mackenzie Dern is dangerous with her grappling, but her striking's not that good. And I think Virna Jandiroba, I think she's going to out-grapple Mackenzie Dern. There's not a whole lot to say about this fight. It's actually very evenly matched. But I just think Virna's going to get her. Honestly, I do. I think she's going to have the... Okay, so they're both... I was going to say she's going to have the height advantage. She's actually an inch shorter than Mackenzie Dern. 5'3", Mackenzie Dern's 5'4". I just think Virna Jandiroba's beaten better levels of competition. I think that's what it is. She's on a better win streak. I remember just a few fights ago, Mackenzie Dern was getting like 10-8'd by Jessica Andrade. And I know, it's a different type of matchup. I get it. I understand it. Jessica Andrade is like the Mike Tyson of these divisions. But I think Virna Jandiroba is just going to be a little bit too crafty on the ground. All right, let's get on to the main event. Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. I think Gane was a little crafties. I think Gane was a little string bean kicks up the middle are going to be too much for Tom Aspinall. Honestly. Nah, I'm joking. Let's be serious again. I'm going with Tom Aspinall by a first 3-minute KO. 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. More about right. I think at the 3.5 minute mark, Tom Aspinall is going to land his clobbering right hand on Ciryl Gane. And I think he's going to send him flying across the octagon and follow up with a big Shelly. That's my prediction. Tom Aspinall, first round KO, 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes into the first round, sending Gane flying across the octagon with a big Shelly. Now my second pick is Tom Aspinall taking down Ciryl Gane in the first minute, the first 30 seconds maybe. Maybe he throws a couple of kicks, Gane throws a teep kick, string bean kick up the middle, Tom Aspinall shoots. Does he get him down or does he not? That is the question. If he doesn't, the KO will commence. If he does, the KO will happen if Gane is improved on his grappling and could get up to his feet. But my other prediction is Aspinall takes Ciryl Gane down and twists him into a pretzel, gets him with an arm lock, a heavyweight submission. He's going to get him with a big heavyweight submission. Again, a Kimura, arm lock, something like that. Maybe a head and arm triangle. I think he's getting this one done easily. Now, this is why it's a stressful fight, though. Aside from the fact that I don't want to jinx it with my Locks of the Year video, there are a lot of expectations on Tom Aspinall. I've said that this guy is the most dangerous human being in combat sports history. All right, when it comes to mano-a-mano combat, Tom Aspinall is probably the best fighter ever. And a lot of people agree with that. And a lot of people are saying things like Tom Aspinall beats everyone. A lot of people have said, including myself, that he would beat Jones. He'd beat even Alex Pereira, even though that's a very close fight. He knows it too. He knows there are a lot of expectations. And after the John Jones saga, you know, he knows Jones is going to be waiting in the wings to clown him if he loses. He knows a lot of people are going to be doing the same thing if he loses. There's a lot of pressure on him to perform. There's a lot of pressure on him now that he has the undisputed title to go out there and prove that he is truly the most scary fighter on the planet, okay? Because if he loses this fight, then you'll have people saying, see, there's a reason why Jones didn't want to fight him. The reason is because he hasn't proven anything, and he's just another guy, and this was proven in the Gane fight. But if he goes out there and finishes Gane, all of that shit is shut up yet again, where it just reinforces that, no, this is the best heavyweight we've ever seen. Nobody wants to fight him. People are scared shitless of fighting this guy. And I think that Tom Aspinall, when the lights are the brightest, I think that's when he performs at his best. And I think that Tom Aspinall is going to go out there, fuckload of pressure, and I think it's going to make him perform at his best. I think it's going to lock him in. I think he's going to have tunnel vision, and I think he's going to find the right hand. Listen, Tom Aspinall, the reason why people may pick Gane is because, Gane's a different striker. He's fast. He's slick. It's a different kind of fighter we're talking about. It's like, dude, I know Volkov is a good fighter. I get it. He's still maybe even underrated to this day. I picked against him. Gane is having close tit-for-tat fights with guys like Volkov. Aspinall is running through Alexander Volkov when he's not even in his prime. This is the problem with Gane. Unless it's tied to Ivasa, if he's not fighting these big tubby heavyweights that are literally stuck in the mud, that are completely out of shape, that are not athletic at all, when Gane fights people with power in their hands, like Jairzinho Rozenstruik, for example, or Derek Lewis, even, for example. I know that, he's a little bit similar to Tai Tuivasa, but I consider Derek Lewis to be a slightly better fighter than Tai Tuivasa. Here come the bro. Did you see Lewis got slept by him? I know. Tai Tuivasa knocked out Derek Lewis, okay? The point that I'm making is, in these matchups with guys that have a lot of power, Gane does not have these avalanche moments where he's like, against Sergey Spivak or against Tai Tuivasa, where he's just pummeling these guys up against the fence. Step in knee, elbow, jab, leg kick, oblique kick, 2 front kicks up the middle, step in knee, elbow. Like, he's not just doing that to Jairzinho. He did that to Derek Lewis in like the 4th round or the 3rd round after he had been able to pick him apart a little bit. But Gane, when he's most dangerous, it's when he's been able to get off 120 significant strikes, accumulative damage. He starts to out-finesse you. He starts to out-tit-for-tat you. And against these fat heavyweights, he can do that quite easily. And he's going to have a height and serious reach advantage on those guys as well. But against Tom, I think he's going to be a lot more patient. I think he's going to be a lot more reserved. And I do not think Gane has the style to be a significant threat with a reserved approach. Especially, listen, this is not some short, tubby guy that he can just pick apart at range. Tom Aspinall is going to be taller than him by an inch. All right? He's got a reach disadvantage, but only by a couple of inches as well. And again, you look at Tom Aspinall running through people, man. It's the speed. It's the speed. It's the power as well. This guy has ridiculous power. But it's the speed that catches these guys off guard. They get hit with shots that they don't see coming. Pavlovich gets hit with a 1-2 that he doesn't see coming. And then Aspinall follows up with another shot on the bus, another shot right after that. Tom Aspinall against Blades eventually just lets go a jab right hand. In the blink of an eye, something Blades doesn't see coming, way too fast, much faster than any other heavyweight is capable of throwing. And he gets sent flying across the octagon. I don't see why that wouldn't happen to Ciryl Gane. I think Tom Aspinall, he's going to be taller. He's not going to be at a huge disadvantage with reach like a lot of other Gane opponents that end up getting schooled. Gane is going to have to respect him. Gane is going to be thinking about the threat of the takedown, right? He's probably done a ton of grappling, and we've seen it time and time again when fighters are preparing for a grappler. Their striking gets a little worse, or it gets rustier, right? They sort of rust a bit up with their kickboxing, right? They end up going in the cage with rusty kickboxing, and even though that works for me, doesn't work for everyone. And I think that Gane, he might even go in there with some rusty kickboxing. I'm not even going to lie. Like, he might actually show up with a bit of rust on him. So, threat of the takedown, knowing that Tom Aspinall has been putting people to sleep, right? Knowing that all it takes is one. And then you look at Volkov tagging him up, man. Like, Volkov, even though he's a great striker, he's much, much slower than Tom Aspinall. He's got good timing, but so does Tom. Tom Aspinall has the timing. He also has the speed, and he also has the unbelievable power. I just think it's a nightmare matchup. Gane gets taken down, he's in a world of trouble. He gets back up, the threat of the takedown is in his mind now, and he's still got to worry about the speed of Aspinall. And you know what? Some people are worried that Aspinall, if he doesn't get the finish early, he could turn into a completely different fighter. That's not really the guy I see. I mean, this is not like some tubby heavyweight. This is a in-shape, lean Tom Aspinall. He's actually gotten leaner for this fight. This is probably the best shape he's ever been in, right? And, you know, it could be a bit concerning that he's going to be coming into this fight a lot lighter. Maybe he'll be less powerful. But again, I think that the speed is really what gets Tom Aspinall the KOs as well. And he just naturally is very explosive. He's just a big guy in general. So he's going to have that natural power no matter what. So I don't think him coming in light would be an issue. But given that he is coming in light, I think his cardio is going to be really good. And you look at Tom Aspinall sparring, even though sometimes he'll have his chin up in the air. And as a Tom Aspinall fan, you hate to see it, but listen, this guy's throwing like spinning back kicks over and over and over again in sparring. Tom Aspinall constantly says, my strength is that people haven't seen what I can do in the octagon. There's no tape on me. And sure, he's given people some sparring tape, but that's just a little bit different. When you see the snippets of him sparring, you're not just seeing 1-2, 1-2, even though I'm sometimes making fun of Aspinall for just throwing a clobbering right hand, right? I mean, listen, you can get pretty far with a simple technique like that, especially when you have his speed and power. But the point that I'm making is when you actually look at the snippets, this guy's throwing spinning back kicks, spinning wheel kicks. He has lighter man techniques. He's got techniques that you would expect from a Gane as well. And I don't know if he's going to pull them off as well as Gane, but he also has that. What I'm saying is Tom Aspinall, if he doesn't get the finish early, I think he can get it in the second and third. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the fourth and fifth. We don't know anything about Aspinall's cardio. We know Gane has really good cardio. We know Gane can go 5 rounds. So that will be worrisome, but I'm saying that if he can't get it in the first, I think he can get it in the second. I mean, think about it like this. Against Andrei Arlovski, that was a very early performance in Aspinall's career. That was the longest an Aspinall fight has ever gone. Got out of the first round. What happened in the second? 30 seconds. All it took in the second round for him to get Arlovski on the ground and submit him. It took about 2 seconds from the moment he took Arlovski down to get him into a submission. So that's what I'm talking about. If he can't get it in the first, he's got the lighter man techniques. He's light on his feet. I think he's going to have decent cardio. He's still going to have power. He's still going to have the grappling skill advantage to be able to pull something off. So my prediction for this fight, first round KO for Tom Aspinall, rocking Ciryl Gane with something fast that he doesn't see coming. Again, the speed of Aspinall, it's going to be different than what Gane is used to. And I think he could also just go out there and submit him early. Again, get him with a straight arm lock or a Kimura heavyweight type of submission early as well. So that's what I'm picking. But I am a little bit worried that, again, this will be compared to John Jones's performance against Gane. And there's a lot of pressure on Aspinall's shoulders. Even though I said that could help him, I think it'll actually do him favors. I think he performs at his best when there's a lot of pressure, when the lights are the brightest. But that is a lot of pressure to perform as well, if not better, than Jones. Because if he takes Gane into the third round or maybe even wins a decision, he doesn't even have to lose. If he doesn't get an early finish, people are going to say, oh, see, Jones would have beat him. Couldn't do what Jones did. But I think he is. And I think that the difference is, this is not just a grappling threat you got to worry about. This is the most dangerous striker we've ever seen at heavyweight. So, Aspinall, first round finish. Gane just doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the grappling skills. He's someone that fights more tentatively against powerful punchers. And when you're in a tit-for-tat, like when Gane's not able to land 5 strikes for every one of his opponents, and it's 1-for-1, I think Aspinall, I think he wins that game every single time. I think he finds the shot every single time. If it turns into a bit of a chess match, staring contest, first couple of minutes where it's slow, they're both nervous, I think that's where Aspinall gets a KO. Okay, so I'm going with Aspinall, first round KO or first round submission. Depends on what he wants to do. Does he want to get the takedown early? Does he want to strike early? We'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.